Welcome back to a little late night common knowledge. Let's take a look at some Pauper potential cards. And we'll start with, interesting one, Benevolent Bodyguard. It's a single white mana for a 1/1 human cleric. You can sacrifice this creature to have target creature you control gain protection from the color of your choice until the end of turn. I like this guy. I don't know if I necessarily like him in Pauper or have a place for him in Pauper. He's a really cool commander card for sure. I know he's been used in some 60 card formats. There's just so much you can do with him. Like protection is such an interesting ability. It's often misunderstood. Basically, the idea here is that it cannot be targeted by spells or abilities. It cannot take damage from a color or from the color that it's protected from. It can't be blocked by the color it's protected from. I forgot, like, somebody made an acronym of like all the things that it can't be. But it doesn't completely protect it in the way that you could still lose that that creature. But if it's protected, you're going to be strong against quite a few things. Like, you can use it offensively and defensively, and that's really fascinating to me. So the idea, you could have your Benevolent Bodyguard out here, and I don't know, you've got some giant monster, some 8/8 or something, and you sacrifice this guy, you give your creature protection from, let's say your opponent's playing like some kind of goblin deck or something, you give it protection from red, you just swing on right on in. What are they going to do? Unless they've got like maybe an artifact creature or some kind of colorless token, they're just taking that damage. That's pretty cool. Or they try to play like some combination of lightning bolts or something to destroy your big creature, and you just sack this guy in response and you get protection and none of that damage matters. It's cool. It's cool. I think in Pauper you'll find that there probably aren't as enough opportunities to really make this ability necessary. I think we've had this conversation on previous episodes, but when everything is a common card, there are very few must protect at all costs kinds of cards that you're dealing with. You do kind of have relatively disposable threats, and it's all about amassing a number of threats rather than pinning all your hopes on a single creature. Again, you kind of get it with Bogle's decks. I wouldn't say there's exactly Voltron strategies, but you will find there's certainly strategies where you're pumping up a single creature. But I think even in those instances, you generally don't play Benevolent Bodyguard. But man, do I love this card! It's a really cool one. Originally from Judgment, where it has the same art but a nicer border, and 65 cents. You could do worse for a Magic card. I think you should pick this up regardless. Actually, Judgment was still a common. I forgot they've got the rarity on the stars on that side. Man. It's a cool card. What do you score this? I kind of want to give this a halfway decent score. But, not necessarily for Pauper, but just for it being good. I'm going to give this a 5.2. I think a 5.2 is relatively fair. I like this card, though. It's a good card. Ooh, here we go. Here's a Pauper playable card. Go for the Throat. It's 1 and a black for an instant. You destroy target non-artifact creature. So we've talked about black removal on the last couple episodes because we've had some other black removal spells come up. This is one of the better ones. You'll find generally the best one is Cast Down, which is 1 and a black for an instant that destroys a target non-legendary creature. And there are very few legendary common creatures. There are more now that Spider-Man's out, but before that there was one from Modern Horizons 3, and he wasn't even good for Pauper. He wasn't played in Pauper. I guess he could potentially work for Pauper, but you do find a lot of artifacts though in Pauper, and that makes Go for the Throat less of a good choice. but there are also still plenty of targets for something like this. I think you'll generally find it more in the sideboard, maybe a couple copies in the main board after to have copies 5 through 6 of cast down essentially. But you'll find a target for this. You'll play it every once in a while, but I would say you'll generally really only play it in probably like mono black decks or maybe specifically controlling Dimir decks. So, but I do like the card. Also, this is the best art, the Brothers War art. Some of these other arts are okay, but yeah, no, it's just clearly the Brothers War art. That's the best one. But that one is not at common rarity. So yeah, this is only common because of these are commander decks. So that's interesting to downshift in a commander deck. That doesn't generally happen very often. So neat that we get this card because of commander decks. So yeah, go for the throat. Really good card. We'll give this I'm going to give this a 6.3. It's quite good. Even if it only shows up in the sideboard, it's an extremely usable card. And you'll see it's, for a Pauper card, held its value relatively well. Held its value even better when it was in Standard, not too long ago. Gaia's Protector is 3 and a green for a 4/2 elemental warrior that must be blocked if able. It's interesting. I don't know. Where do you put it? It's cool that this thing just comes with a lure effect on it. You could, if you're playing your green-white Bogles decks, you could put an Ethereal Armor on this, give it first strike, give it a bunch of power toughness. They have to block it. You're able to just take out creatures. But in those decks, more often than not, you want to be evasive and just do the damage straight to them. Taking out a creature is not that big of a deal. Clearing out the opponent's side is not that big of a deal. The opponent can also kind of get around this by just attacking with all of their creatures and keeping them all tapped, or just tapping all their creatures before you're able to attack with this in some other way, like crewing a vehicle or something to that effect. And then they kind of circumvent this. But I don't know. I mean, 4/2 are not great stats for 4 mana, and the lure effect is not necessarily the thing that you want. So on one hand, you could just kind of view this as a vanilla 4/2 for 4. That's not great. So I've talked about it more than it really deserves. Let's go ahead and give it a 2 point. Yeah, I was going to say 6, but I don't even think it deserves that. Let's say 2.3. Keep on moving to Dwarven Grunt. Single red mana for a 1/1 dwarf. It's got Mountain Walk. That's it. There are other 1/1s with Mountain Walk for a single red mana that you would play over this because they just have better creature types. Pretty sure there's a goblin that has Mountain Walk like this. I think there's a goat. Is there like a mountain goat that just has this? Let's check. I'm pretty sure if I type mountain goat, did I already search for this? Why was mountain goat in my search bar? Hey, look at that. A 1/1 with Mountain Walk. Oh, was this in my search bar because I put this in my white border cube? That's very possible. Because look at that art. Look at that handsome man. I would play that any day over Dwarven Grunt. I mean, Dwarven Grunt has pretty good art too, but yeah. I mean, it's a 1/1 with Mountain Walk. Unless you're facing another red deck, this isn't really all that useful at all. And if you're facing a red deck, this is still not very useful. So it doesn't really go in any deck. We'll give it a 1.2. I can't quite give it a 1, so we'll give it a little something better than that. Infestation Sage. This is a good card. This is a card that gets play. Gets a decent amount of play, even though it's relatively new from Foundations. But this is what do you call this? The white creature that does the same thing, that just kind of gives the name to all of them. I forgot the name off the top of my head. If you remember, go ahead and throw it in the comments. But Infestation Sage is a single black mana for a 1/1 elf warlock. And when this creature dies, you create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token with flying. Good, just good. I mean, how different could this 1/1 for 1 be than from this 1/1 for 1? And the answer is, well, this is 2 1/1s, kind of. And the second one flies. That's way better. And also the colors. Like this is a mono black card. Well, it's a black card rather. And you play this, and you're playing this in a mono black deck. Generally, the one that you're looking for is mono black sacrifice with your carrion feeders, or I forgot what the beetle's called that wants this stuff too, but just something where you can very easily sacrifice this guy. You'll get a bunch of bonuses for creatures dying and the +1 counter from carrion feeder, and then he leaves behind a creature token as well that you can sacrifice again or attack with for a while and do something with that. But also, this guy is just a really great blocker. You block with this guy, and then you sacrifice in response to the damage before the damage gets dealt. Or you just let him die, and he puts out a flyer, and then that flyer can block even more things. It's a really great 1-drop. It provides you more value than you normally get from a 1-drop because you're getting 2 creatures. That's just good value, and that's why this thing gets played 4 of in mono black sacrifice decks for sure. So for that deck specifically, that's really kind of the only deck it goes into. I haven't seen it be played in other decks. Maybe there's like a Rakdos sacrifice deck that would also want this, but it's really only sacrifice strategies. And that narrows it a little bit. Like, this is not a generically incredible Pauper card, but it does play really well in the deck that wants it. So we'll give it I'll give it a 6.8. I'll give it a 6.8. I think that's it's a very solid card. Doom Traveler. Haha, don't put it in the comments. I got it. Doom Traveler. Right? I'm not even looking at this next card. Doom Traveler. Look at me. Yep. There it is. That's the guy. He's white, but when he dies, you make the 1/1 with flying. Look at me, remembering Magic cards. Hostile Minotaur is 3 and a red for a 3/3 Minotaur with haste. Okay. Doom Traveler would have been a better card to look at, wouldn't it? Yeah, Hostile Minotaur, that's pretty disappointing. 3/3 for 4. Haste is not all that big of a deal. In red, especially. I mean, red's where it gets the haste, but also red is not a color that necessarily wants a creature this expensive. You should be getting a lot more out of your cards on turn 4 than putting down a 3/3 with haste in red. Yeah, pretty disappointing. Pretty disappointing. I'll give this a 1.5. Barktooth Warbeard is a legendary human. Okay, you know what? I was wrong. There are other legends, but it's only because it was put in a online one. This guy is not in either of his forms. This SpongeBob Secret Lair version. God, what a ridiculous thing. Both that there is a SpongeBob Secret Lair and that there is a Secret Lair version of this guy. But then, the Legends one as well. Anyway, he is 4 black, red, and he's a legendary creature, human warrior, and he's a 6/5, and that is it. He's a vanilla creature. He costs 7 mana to get a 6/5. That's not even Crawworm stats, people. I mean, that's Crawworm stats, but it's not Crawworm price. It's more expensive than a Crawworm. And his only upside is being legend, and honestly, that's more of a downside. The only upside is that he's not getting cast down, I suppose. But it's a 1. It's a 1. It's not great. I don't. I almost said I don't get it, but that's the flavor text on Patrick here. What a weird one. What a weird choice for that. It's a funny choice, right? But it's still weird. Yeah, this you know, Warbeard, sorry, bud, you're a 1. That's terrible value. Bird Admirer, that's me. I like a good bird. Bird Admirer is 2 and a green for a 1/4 human archer werewolf. It's got reach, and oh god, this is the first time we've talked about this one on Common Knowledge. Daybound. All right, so Daybound and Nightbound, let's talk about it. Daybound says if a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. So this is a day-night is a function that you get once you play a creature that has Daybound or Nightbound on it. You get this card that then has to be tracked for the rest of the game. Even if you don't have a creature with Daybound or Nightbound on it, you still continue to have to track this because when you play another card that has Daybound or Nightbound, it will matter. It will come in on the side that is either day or night. This is why Commander players hate it, because you have 4 people who are now all tracking day or night, or have to worry about whether it's day or night. And why would you do this? Why would you do that to a whole table? Why would you make them do a bunch of extra thinking because you had one halfway decent card in your deck that needed Daybound and Nightbound? It's why I don't play any Daybound, Nightbound creatures in my Commander decks. I did get the Secret Lair because a guy I went to college with made a Secret Lair for his book, and it has a werewolf that is like a Daybound, Nightbound commander. So if I ever did make that commander deck, I guess, but if I made that commander deck, I would make it specifically around Daybound, Nightbound, and make it the whole theme of the deck. You don't just put one Daybound, Nightbound creature in there. Anyway, I'm talking a lot about day and night. We need to talk more about the creature, and we also need to talk about the Nightbound part because this thing can transform. So when it becomes night, this thing will transform. So it just starts as a 1/4 with reach. For 3 mana, that's not great, but it's kind of whatever. And then it can transform at night to a 3/5 with reach. And you know, a 3/5 with reach for 3 mana is a much better deal. But to stay night, or to make it night and to continue have it be night, if a player casts at least 2 spells during their own turn, then it becomes, sorry. Okay. I even got confused on that. So it starts as day, but if a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night. So then you'd flip this over if they weren't able to cast a spell. And then if somebody casts 2 or more spells on their turn, it stops becoming night and it goes back to day, and it would have to transform back to this creature. And so you just keep tracking that. And your opponent has an ability to affect this, right? You know, whether they play a spell or not, whether they want to keep this Daybound or Nightbound. They generally want to keep this Daybound if they could, because the stats are worse on that side. But even on your turn, you'd be able to... well, no, because you have to cast no spells on your turn. So you don't even have a way to flip it back to night on your turn. I mean, there are cards that can turn at night. I don't know if they're in common. But there are ways to also make it night on your turn. But generally, it's like you're forcing your opponent to play a certain way to keep this day. We're spending a lot of time on this to explain the mechanic. Generally, it's like, is it a 1/4, is it a 3/5, or are either of those really worth 3 mana? The 3/5 is good stats for 3 mana for sure, but I would just say for the hassle of having to worry about whether it's day or night, I just generally would not play this card. I don't think I've seen day-night come into play in a Pauper game that I've seen or experienced. So I think we can mostly just leave this as like a 2.4 and just go, probably don't. But if you absolutely had to play it, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in your deck, but it wouldn't be the best, that's for sure. Let's keep going. Jeskai Wind Scout is 2 and a blue for a 2/1 bird scout. It's got flying, and it's also got prowess. So when you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Prowess is a really great ability. It's so good that they had to take my boy Monastery Swift Spear, and they had to ban him They had to ban him from Pauper. He's too good. He's too good. But what if Monastery Swiftspear cost 2 extra mana and it could fly and its stats, or I guess these stats are better because it flies. You don't have to worry about as many things blocking it. But are you willing to pay this premium to just get a creature that can do this, that can fly? I don't think I'm willing to pay 3 mana for that. 2? I think 2 mana we could have that conversation, but there are just too many cards in Pauper that you're going to find playing against either mono red or playing against somebody who can sideboard in an Arms of Hadar or something like that, that are just going to easily take out a 1 toughness creature. And that makes us a little weaker. Although you can respond to that by playing an instant, and then and that's a non-creature spell. So you would be able to pump this thing up a little bit. You can potentially get out of lightning bolt range, but that's also asking you to spend a lot of resources to do that at a time you might not necessarily want to spend those resources. Yeah, a 2/1 flying prowess sounds great, but 3 mana is just a little too much. So can't give it too good of a score. I think I'm going to give this a straight 3, and we'll move on. But it's in there. It's in there, but it's not in there quite enough. Lityara Kinseekers is 3 and a blue for a 2/4 shapeshifter. It's got changeling, which means it is every single creature type. It's a bird, it's a hippogriff, it's a zombie, it's a beast, it's a goat. It's so many things. But when this creature enters, if you control 3 or more creatures that share a creature type, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and then you scry 1. Okay, so you're in some kind of tribal theme in blue. That might be wizards, that might be birds, that might be, all sorts of different little things, illusions, and this thing already counts as any of those creatures when it comes into play. So it will count itself for its ability. So really you only need 2 other creatures that share a creature type. Fairies is a typal deck that you'll find in blue. Ninjas is a typal deck you'll find in blue. Sometimes they'll even be together. Tolarian terror decks, terrors and cryptic serpents, I believe, are both serpents. That's something, I guess. There's plenty of humans everywhere. You could potentially get humans with this. So you have lots of ways of getting this to be a 3/5 for 4 mana with an extra scry on it. Is that good enough? No, not really. I would posit that the daybound nightbound thing that can become a 3/5 is probably a little better than this. The changeling is the coolest thing on the card for sure. But that's not really, there's enough changelings and they're much cheaper that you don't really need to play this. It's cool. It's cool, but it's not good. So let's give it a 1.8. And I think that's the last card, but we're going to do a bonus card just for a little fun. And it's Sedge Scorpion. Clean, perfect little magic. Sedge Scorpion is a single green mana for a 1/1 Scorpion, and it's got Death Touch. Beautiful. We've seen a lot of these creatures over the years. We've seen Ankle Biter, we've seen Fang of Shigeki, plenty of 1/1 green. You also see this in black too. Single mana for a 1/1 with Death Touch. It kills a lot of stuff. If you have like a bite effect, this gets really great and kills anything. you get to just kill one of your opponent's creatures, and it's a great blocker. You'll stop a lot of opponents attacking you just by having this as a blocker for you. How good is it in Pauper though? It's probably not amazing because the cards are relatively disposable, so your opponent's willing to throw away a creature to take this off the field so then they can play their next creature and their next creature and their next creature. And I think these lose a little bit more of their value when they can't take out a much higher rarity card. And so, it's one of the weird cases where, something like this actually works better in Standard than it does in Pauper. I mean, it's not available in Standard, but a card like this would work better in a Standard. Yeah, I don't know. I like Scorpions. I wish they made more viable Scorpions in Magic. All the Scorpions are kind of like this. they're black or they're green, and they are only 1 or 2 power and toughness, and they have Death Touch or something, but they don't really move the needle anywhere. Ha, needle Scorpion. Let's give this a 2.2. Yeah, 2.2. I think that's enough for today. Thanks so much for joining me for some common knowledge, and we'll see you next time.